Hi, I'm Stephanie with Baby Lock, and I am so excited that you're here today to learn about your Baby Lock Diana Serger machine. You might not know which stitch to start with, so let's go ahead and set up our machine for a 4-thread overcast, or also known as an overlock stitch. First thing I'm going to do is turn our machine on, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove the cover and chain thread. So we're only going to be working with these 4 spools. Here's your lower looper thread, your upper looper thread, your right needle, and your left needle. And I just real quickly wanted to point you in the direction of your handy reference chart. It is just what it says it is. It's very handy. And we're going to go over the 4th thread overlock stitch, and this will walk you through the different settings. So with the manual machine, let's go ahead and open your front door. This very helpful diagram shows you how to thread your loopers. The green path is your upper looper thread, blue is your lower looper thread, and purple is your chain looper thread. This diagram here is also very helpful, and it walks you through using a special tool that we'll need to help thread the lower looper and your chain and cover looper. And you'll find this tool right here. This is for your lower looper. It'll grab the thread. We'll show you how to use it in detail, but it'll grab the thread and then it takes it to the back side of the looper, something you don't see. Here's the chain and the cover. Something you can't see or reach on the machine, and this will help you thread the back elbow of each of those loopers. And we need to thread in a specific order. We're going to start with your upper looper thread, which is designated as green. You're going to pull it straight up to the antenna thread guide. Come on down, and there's a thread guide hook right back here. You're going to hold your thread kind of like dental floss and basically floss that thread guide. Make sure that it clicks and hooks into place. Then you want to bring your thread underneath this pre-tension disc on the right side. Bring it on down the guide. Go ahead and give a pull at the front and the back of your thread to make sure that it seats properly in that tension disc that's sunk down in there. You're going to hook it in this thread guide, and we're going to follow the green dots from here. So your next one is over here. You can also refer to the guide down here. So you'll come from the front of this hook. Okay, we're going to turn the hand wheel. Okay, to where the position is here. You'll see your green hook here. You might need to use tweezers. You might be able to get it in there just fine, just like that. Here's another green hook. Okay, from here you're going to go straight up. There's this little, kind of looks like a pigtail, little wire. Bring that on around in there. Okay, and then we're going to thread the eye of your upper looper. And again, if you need to use tweezers here, you can. And I'm going to do just that. I'm going to grab the back side of it and pull my thread straight back. Make sure that it doesn't hook or loop on anything. Okay, so pretty easy. The upper looper is threaded. Again, I just wanted to reiterate that order is very important. The number one reason that serger machines won't chain off correctly is if the threads are threaded in the incorrect order. So just always remember that you want to do your upper looper first, which is designated green, and then we'll go ahead and move to your lower looper. So let's go ahead and just do that right now. So we'll take your lower looper, which is blue thread on our demonstration. Threaded the same way at the beginning. Use it like dental floss to floss it from right to left. In your thread guide, make sure it clicks. Then seat that thread on the right side of your pre-tension disc. bring it on down, give a tug at the beginning and the end of your thread to make sure that it seats in your tension disc here. You're going to hook it into this thread guide from right to left. Then there's two hooks here. One's designated for purple, which is your chain and cover. We're not doing that one yet. And a hook further forward that is designated for your blue. Okay, let's go ahead and hook it there. We'll find the next one, which is here. We'll use tweezers so you can see. Okay, and one more right here. It shares the same one as your main thread as your upper. So just to recap, we've got 6 different thread guides within the lower portion of the machine for our lower looper. Here, 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 and then 3 hooks right in a row here, here, and here. Okay, so now we need to thread our lower looper. And this is where these handy tools come into play. Your thread guide that helps you down here as well, you can reference. Right now we can't even see the lower looper. You have your upper looper, which we threaded already, and your lower looper is just kind of basically peeking out from inside the machine. So we need to turn your hand wheel to where that shows all the way. Your next point that you're going to be looking for, you can see this doodad right here. There's a threader right behind it, okay? So here is your chain looper. We're not threading that, but we're going to go right behind your chain looper, like so. And then you want to hook it on this guy right here. If you'll notice down here, there's a lever. And what peeks out is a little V, and that's going to catch your thread. And this is something else I wanted to show you. If you start trying to thread it and you're like, it's not threading, it's not working, what you need to do is lower that lower looper a little bit further so it doesn't catch on the machine. Use your lever down here, and it's going to pass it through to the back side, to the elbow of your looper that's hidden within the machine, in the lower portion of the machine. It's pretty cool, actually, because it kind of works like magic. So now it's hooked on the back side of your looper back there, coming from the inside of the machine, and we just need to thread that eye of your lower looper. So using your hand wheel again, turn it towards you. We need to bring that lower looper to where it's just peeking above your upper looper. And at that point, we're going to thread the eye of your lower looper. I'm going to shorten my thread just a wee bit. Grab my tweezers so you can see, so my hand doesn't get in the way. And we'll just go ahead and thread the eye of that looper. Then you'll want to go ahead and grab the back side of the thread, and grab that real quick, and pull it to the back side of the machine. Now, any excess of thread here that you're pulling to the back of the machine, make sure you kind of hold with your tweezers or your fingers and just pull that back. Make sure that it doesn't get caught on your chain looper that we had talked about a second ago. I'm just going to peek inside to make sure it didn't get hooked, and it did. So let's bring that down. Okay. And so you'll want to notice that the thread is coming from the inside of the machine to the eye of your lower looper. And now both of your upper and lower loopers are threaded, and your threads are pulled to the back side of the machine. Threading your loopers wasn't that hard. It was pretty easy. Hopefully we set your mind at ease. And now we're just going to go ahead and move on to your right and left needles for your overlock stitch. Okay, we're going to start with your right needle. Bring it straight up. Catch the thread guide. Again, catch your thread guide here from right to left. Move your thread underneath the right side of your pre-tension disc, run it through your tension again. Pull from the bottom and the top of your thread to seat it. And we're going to come straight underneath this metal guide here. There's 3 different positions here. we're going to put it in the one that's closest to the machine. Bring this around and follow this groove. This part I always like to think of as it's very much like a sewing machine. You come up and around, and you'll put it in the thread guide on the right thread guide here. Okay, there's another thread guide over here. There's 3 different hooks, and you'll want to bypass 2 of them to get to the furthest one to the right. Okay, and there's a bar here that you'll want to make sure that your thread gets behind there. And finally, we get to thread our needle. It's very important, make sure as you're threading your machine that your presser foot is up. And as I'm threading the needles, I'm using the tweezers here so that you can see, but there's also really handy needle threaders that you might check into as well. And for our left needle, we are going to follow the same routine that we have with the beginning of the other 3 threads. Make sure that your thread sits on the right side of your pre-tension disc, down the path, give a little tug to make sure that it's seated. Follow underneath this metal guide, and you can place your thread in the outermost. Follow your guide. Okay, right in your center guide here. You'll place this one right next to your yellow thread in our demonstration. Okay, so you can see the 2 threads next to each other right there. Again, just place that right behind the bar, and we'll go ahead and thread your left needle. Hold that steady. Okay, pull your thread all the way to the back of the machine. Make sure it doesn't hook or loop funny. And as I was doing that, my thread just popped out of here, so just want to make sure that it pops right back underneath, okay? So we have all 4 threads threaded. And now just to set your machine up, we're going to go ahead and close that front door. And you can place your handy little thread bin. It just clicks right into your machine. Okay, and that catches all your fabric cuttings and your thread. So we have your machine threaded. And before you thread it, you'll want to set up your machine with specific settings. We've already done that. Let me go ahead and walk you through that now. So let's reference your handy reference chart. We are going to look at number 7, the 4-thread overlock stitch. And you'll follow over for the ATD column. That stands for automatic tension dial. And you'll notice it needs to be on selection A. Okay, so we're going to go over to the machine. And remember, this is your automatic tension dial. It needs to be on A. And this is a good opportunity for me to show you what this dial does. It basically sets your tensions to what it needs to be for the recommended. And then if you're using a specific fabric, we might need to fine-tune adjust these, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But let me show you, as I adjust this, it's going to tweak these tension dials here. Okay, can you see that move? It's just barely moving just to adjust your tension to the stitch that we are going to do. Okay, so let's go back to A. Back in our chart, our stitch length and our differential feed need to be set on N. So let's check that on our machine. Here's your stitch length, and we have it selected on N. And then if you'll remember, we talked about your differential feed, which is back here in the back of your machine, and that also needs to be on N. Okay, we'll go over one more column, and that is your clutch, your driving clutch that we had talked about. And that's inside the machine, and if you'll remember, usually it's down. The only time that we'll move it up is with your chain and your cover stitch. Okay, so usually it's down. Coming back to your chart, we're going to come over here, and this is your needle position. And if you'll notice, like we had talked about, You have placements for 2 needles for your overcasting, your overlock needles, and then 3 needles for your cover and chain stitches. And the 2 that have been darkened, or where it's darkened, that's the needles that you'll need to use. For our 4th thread, you need the 2 overcasting needles placed, okay? Then if you'll follow over, this shows which guide needs to be threaded. Okay, so we've already threaded your red guide, your yellow guide, your green, and your blue. And just to recap, that's your left needle, your right needle, your upper looper, which we threaded first, and your lower looper. Okay, let's run some fabric through. So you'll want to start with your presser foot down. Why? Because the feed dogs peek out here and they do a great job of pulling your fabric through efficiently. You can control the speed just like with a sewing machine with your foot pedal. So you're just going to push the fabric right up to the foot there. And you can even leave a little excess here and see how the cutter works. Now you'll want to make sure that you trail off a tail of thread, and you can use some little scissors to clip that. Okay, so let's look at our stitch. And it's stitched out absolutely beautifully.